are talking about volumes of pyramids and cones. Now, yesterday we did volumes of rectangular prisms. So we figured out we could find the volume of these kinds of shapes. All right. So I've got all these, we talked about all these yesterday. So yesterday we said, hey, if we have a prism, so this is a hexagon-based prism, and if we know the area of the base, if we knew what this was, then all we have to do is multiply by the height, and that'll give us the volume of a prism. So in all of these, if we know the area of the base, then all we have to do is multiply by the height. And so that's kind of nice. Area of the base times the height. And it works all the time. Even on cylinders, all we had to know was the area of the base, which in this case was a circle, and then multiply it by the height. So for all of these shapes that have, the base on top and bottom, and then their height, it's really easy to find the volume. So today I want to figure out, hey, what if, here we go, I have a pyramid. So what if I have a pyramid and I want to find the volume of the pyramid? Now this pyramid, gentlemen, this pyramid is the same base as this cube, and they have the same height. So my question to you is, when you look at these, how many, I'm going to fill them with water, so I have water here. How many of these pyramids do you think are going to be able to fit inside the cube of the same base and height? 2? How many of you think 2 pyramids full? 1.5, 2? 1? Just 1? You think they're the same volume? 2. I don't know. Well, this is, so we're going to play, I'm going to play. I'm not going to let you play. Okay. All right. So here we go. This is a little bit hard and not very technical, and I don't have my towel. But all right, here we go. So I have 1 pyramid full of water, and I'm pouring it into the prism. Oh, 3? Are you changing your answers now? 2? So volume. So volume is like filling a container. Okay. All right. Here's a second pyramid. Oh, 2.5? All right. There's my third. Here's my third pyramid full. Ooh. Okay, so how many pyramids fit inside the similar, all right, 3 pyramids. Okay, so if 3 pyramids fit inside the similar prism, how many of these would fit in here? Or how much of this? 1/3. Very good. So if we want to find the volume of a pyramid, it is simply 1/3 of the area of the base times the height. So yesterday we did the area of the base times the height, and a pyramid is just 1/3 of that. Does that make sense to you? All right. So here we go. Let's try a couple. So number 1, we want to know, we're going to use our formula, 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. What is our base in this figure? What shape is our base in this figure? A square. All right. So right here is our base, and it is a square. And so what is our, how do we find the area of that square base? Base times height. 12 times 12, which is 144. Good. So to find the volume, we have 1/3 times the area of our base, which is 144. And what's the height of our pyramid? 10 feet. So there's our 10 right there, the height to the tippity top. And will you please plug that into your calculators? What did you get? How do you put 1/3 in your calculator? 1 divided by 3, yeah, it's not hard. 1 divided by 3 times 144 times 10. Okay, so we get 480. What are the units on volume? Feet cubed. We've got feet times feet right here with 12 times 12, and then times another feet. So feet times feet times feet. Ladies and gentlemen, on Delta Math, they make it, of course, not quite so straightforward. What if they told you that the perimeter, I-M-E-T-E-R, the perimeter of the square base was 48? What if they told you that the perimeter of the square base was 48? How would that help you figure out the area of your base? They're the same base. So like this, if they just told you this and you had no picture, what would you do with your square base? 10 times 48 is not the same thing here. Could you draw a square? Okay, and if it's a square, all 4 sides are the same length? That's true, right? Okay. And so all these things have to add together to equal 48. All right, so I don't know what they are. X, 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 and X. So there's all these X's here. They're all the same length. How many X's is that? So 4 X's is equal to the perimeter of 48. Can you figure out what X is? 12. It's 12, yeah. Divide by 4, we get X equals 12. So you can see that happened to be this picture. This would have a perimeter of 48. So when you come across this in Delta Math, you may need to do a little figuring. Okay? All right, let's look at number 2. Number 2, again, the volume is 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. How do we find the area of our base in number 2? Five times 18, yeah, it's just edge times edge there. So 5 times 18 is 90. And so our volume is going to be 1/3 times the base of, area of the base is 90. And what's our height? 7. 30 times 7 is 210 meters cubed. All right, let's look at number 4. Number 4, again, it's a pyramid, so our volume is 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. How do we find the area of our base on this pyramid? It's a triangle. Very good. A triangle is 1/2 base times height, so we have to use that formula. So 1/2, what is the base and height on our little yellow triangle there? 6 and 8. Very good. How do we know that? Why is it 6 times 8? They've got the right angle. Yep, there's that little right angle right there, and that's always going to give you your base and height. So the 6 and the 8. Half of 6 times 8 is 24. Now the volume is going to be 1/3 times that 24. And what's the height of our pyramid? 11. There's the height to the tippity top of our pyramid. That's 8 times 11 is 88. inches cubed. Okay. Let's look at number 5. Again, it's a pyramid, so the volume is 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. What shape is our base? Triangle again. All right, so to figure out the area of the base, we use our triangle formula, 1/2 base times height. So on that little yellow triangle, what's our base and what's our height? 16 and 9.5, good. So here we have 16 is on the base there with the right angle, and then the height of that yellow triangle is this 9.5 that's pointing there. So what is that? 76, thank you. All right, so volume is going to be 1/3 times the 76, and what's the height of the pyramid? 14. There's our height right there, 14. Thank you. 354. Is it 0.6 or 0.7? 76 times 14. Oh, so it will round up to be a 7. Millimeters cubed. Okay. Give me a thumbs up. How do you feel about finding volumes of pyramids? Okay, cool. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's turn the page. Okay, I get to play with more. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now I have in my hand a cylinder and a cone. And again, the question is, we learned how to find the volume of the cylinder yesterday, which is just area of the base times the height. So how many of these cones are going to fit in the same height, same base? 5, 3, 2. Not, well, it can't be the same volume. They're clearly different shapes. So I'm getting 3s and 4s. Raise your hand if you think it's 2. All right, raise your hand if you think it's 3. 3 cones, a couple more. Okay, 4 cones. All right, most people are thinking 4 cones. 5 cones? 1. Okay. All right, let's see. Here we go. I'm filling up my cone. All right, here we have 1 cone full of water. Okay, can you see that? 3. I'm hearing 3s now. All right, there's a 2 cones full. That wasn't full. There we go. All right, there it is. Another 3. How about that? It's exactly to the top. You can see it, right? How it's like bubbling. Okay. All right, so there it is. It is exactly 3 cones fit in the same base and height cylinder. So how many of these would fit in here? 1/3. Okay. So just like pyramids, the volume is simply 1. Oops, I meant to write 1/3. You know what? I'm going to write it small. Because we're going to do 2 here. Volume equals 1/3 the area of the base times the height, just like the pyramid. So I guess anything that comes to a point is just going to be 1/3 of the other thing. So that's kind of cool. But on our, just to make life a little bit easier here, we have the 1/3. What's the area of our base when we have a cone? It's a circle, so how do we find the area of the circle? Pi times radius squared. So instead of just having to figure out b every time, we're just going to use the formula pi times radius squared times the height. So there we go, 1/3 pi r squared h. So number 7, it is a cone. So volume equals 1/3 pi r squared h. What's our r? 3.5. What's our height? 16. So we just get to plug in the numbers and then use our calculators, which is super nice. So 1/3 times pi times our radius of 3.5 squared times our height of 16. All right, everybody take your calculators and make sure you know how to use your calculator properly. 1/3 times pi times 3.5 squared times 16. So you should have something like that. 205. What's wrong? Oh, that'll be a big difference there. All right. 205 point what? 0.3. Very good. Miles. Oh my goodness. Cubed. Those are big, big, big. Okay. Again, we have a cone. The volume is 1/3 pi radius squared times height. What is our radius in this picture? 9. Very good. Our radius is 9. We want half the diameter. And our height is 27, so we just need to plug those in. 1/3 times pi times 9 squared times a height of 27. 2,290.2. All right. Feet cubed. Yeah, volume. Length, width, and height, 3 dimensions. So cubic feet, 3 dimensions. All right. Do you have questions for me? Give me a thumbs up. How do you feel about 1/3 time? Okay, good. Excellent, excellent. All right, 1/3 area of the base times the height is what you're doing today.